Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Romeo Escobar from Survivor Season 42, and I want to wish you a very happy Pride. Remember, always be true to yourself and live pridefully.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Pride Has Spoken, your very gay Survivor podcast, maybe the most gay Survivor podcast, or queer, or, it could be very lesbian or trans, or, but, all of the identities. I'm, I'm Matt Scott. Happy to be here, and as you can tell by the laughs and the wonderful, lovely awkwardness, I am not alone. I am joined first and foremost, Grace Leeder.
Hi, Matt. Could be an asexual podcast. Could be a questioning
Thank
podcast.
you.
It could be intersex.
Yes.
It's unfortunately it's not ally as much as you
It
folks
is.
want it to be.
It's
I mean,
it's
it
an
is,
ally
it is, but
podcast.
you're not in the acronym. You're just also an ally, but that's okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we of course are not alone. Of course, we're joined by the one and only Dr. Evvie Jagoda. Evvie, how you doing?
Hello, friends. I'm so good. I'm so glad to be here.
All right, quick pronoun check. Evvie, what pronouns do you use?
I use they, them pronouns. Thanks for asking, Grace. Matt, how about you?
Thank you for asking. My pronouns are he, him, and Grace, what are your pronouns?
I use she, her pronouns. Thanks for asking.
And this is an extremely special episode of the podcast for me. As you can all see by clicking on this podcast, this is a wonderful, really important episode with newly Dr. Deshawn Radden. Yes,
double
he's been
doctoring.
doing a lot. He also recently finished his podiatry degree, so he's got a lot going on. And I think this is a really special interview. And I'm really, really excited to get to share it with you all.
I think the first thing is just like thank Deshawn for doing this. I think when you, Evvie, were talking about that this might be a thing that Deshawn was willing to share about, and I actually haven't heard the interview at the time that we're recording. I was very excited because not just for Deshawn, and I think the thing I have a friend of mine actually who people know, this is Brooklyn Zed, who we joke about when people are like, "You're so brave, you're so strong," and like I do think it's like kind of silly coming from like straight people, but I do say it to other people, like it is not easy to come out, and especially like coming out on a platform like this is not easy. So I just appreciate Deshawn's like vulnerability and openness to doing this, because I think this will be an incredibly important and incredibly cool thing that is happening in this particular space. So I think it's really awesome. Yeah,
it is awesome, and there's on like so many levels. But I'm so like we're so happy for him that he's able to like have this conversation, be part of this, to come out. And I don't know, like when I heard the news of him being part of the Pride Has Spoken and part of the community, especially as a queer Black man, there's like so many emotions, because I know, and of course we'll hear his story in just a few minutes and what that looks like, but I know for so many queer Black people that there are a lot of obstacles and challenges, and people not feeling comfortable or not necessarily always being accepted coming out, which happens in a lot of cases. But I want Deshawn to know that like we are a warm, amazing embrace, and this community, the Pride Has Spoken community, is just a warm embrace as much as Deshawn wants or needs it.
Yes, absolutely. For people listening, take this time, spread some love to Deshawn. I know it will mean a lot to him. And yeah, I just feel so happy for Deshawn that he's at a point in his life where this is something he wants to share with the world. And I just also feel really happy, like, as we all know, what you see on Survivor is always like the tip of the iceberg of who a person is. And I'm someone who has been very blessed to get to know Deshawn in a much deeper level than just even being on the show with him, but, in the time after. And he's just like an absolutely wonderful person that you saw like the tiniest little bit and messiest little snaky bit in the game. And I just feel really, really, really happy that he's sharing more of himself with the world, and that we get to show more of Deshawn to everyone. So he's an awesome guy, and I'm just so happy to welcome him into this world. And send some love to Deshawn, because he deserves it for sure.
So we'll get to, I think, I don't want to waste no time getting the interview. Just a reminder, you can buy a Pride Buff at robswebsite.com/Pride Buff. You can either fill out the pre-order or it should be available to just purchase outright. You can also purchase a t-shirt, a Pride Spoken t-shirt on robswebsite.com/store. All the proceeds going to Point of Pride, a charity that supports folks getting gender affirming care and offering support for trans healthcare, which is amazing. But I think we should just get right to the interview with Deshawn.
Yeah. Let's get into. Before we get into, I just want to give a shout to Evvie for creating that space. Like I don't think we like properly just thanked you or recognized you in this, but I just want to, before we hop into the interview, to say that like it is amazing that Deshawn could feel comfortable to have that conversation and to share. And I think that you being part of this is a huge piece of that. But also, if this conversation leads to others coming out or figuring out their own journey, like I think sometimes we overlook like how much that these conversations can mean to people. But I just want to say like how grateful I am, especially for this conversation, to you, Evvie, for creating that space. That's what it's all about. So
Hell yeah. I appreciate that. And you pay it forward in this queer world. Someone helped me and I'm happy to, help other people, and we all just keep helping each other, and that's how it goes. So
hell yeah.
With that, let's hear from Deshawn. Okay. It is my absolute pleasure. You all know, listening to this, I get excited every time, but I have to say I've interviewed some like old school legends like Amy in season 1 and some winners like Jam last week, but I don't think I've ever been more excited for one of these interviews than I am right now. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome my dear friend, the runner-up of season 41, the new Dr. Deshawn Radden. Deshawn, welcome to the Pride Has Spoken.
Thank you so much, Evvie. That means the world. I'm so excited to be here. Our journey here has been quite the journey. So I'm excited to chat with you about this stuff, man.
Hell yes. This has been a podcast several years, maybe even a lifetime in the making, And,
I would say a lifetime. I like a lifetime.
Yeah. That's how it goes. It's a lifetime. Okay, so for those of you listening to this, you're getting another classic Deshawn truth bomb.
Yeah.
Deshawn, he's here. He's queer. He's on the Pride Has Spoken. You might not have seen it coming, but here he is.
I love that so much. That was perfect. Yeah. So what were you gonna say? Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I have to say, Matt Scott set me up with that one. He was like, "You have to say truth bomb," and I was like, "That's right. That's good."
Period. Listen, shouts out to Matt. He reached out to me via IG for the first time, and we connected. So like, shouts out to that guy, man.
He's such a sweetie, right?
Yeah, he's
such a sweetie.
Sure. Yeah.
So, first of all, does that feel right? Is queer the word we're using? Like, does that feel right?
Queer is the exact word, and not to gas you up, Evvie, but it was because of you that I like learned the jargon, because like you don't I didn't realize how important something as simple as like language was. And when I was like trying to figure myself out, like I'd always be like, I don't know if gay feels right, but I definitely know I'm not straight, and I didn't know like what the term was. And so when we were on the island and I heard you call yourself queer, and then I heard you speak of it in an empowering way, it was like, wow, I think that that's something that I identify with. It feels like a blanket term, like just to say like, listen guys, I'm not straight, I'm here, it is what it is. So you spoke power into the word, because when I was growing up, queer was a very like derogatory term for people. So just watching you and you owning your title as a queer person was very, very influential to me. So yeah, queer is perfect.
Hell yeah, I love that. And yeah, everything I do, I'm paying it forward from people before me who helped me with that same thing, because I totally know what you mean of like, when I was a kid and be like, lesbian, like I don't know, that doesn't feel right, because also like I don't know, kissing that boy was okay, you know what I mean? It's just
right,
like,
yeah,
exactly. And it's like it's so important to like be like, oh, fuck boxes, like you know what I mean, like maybe that box is right for you, but maybe it's not. You can use whatever the fuck you want. And so I'm so glad.
Yeah, no, I feel like queer is like as close as you can get to saying like fuck a box, fuck checking a box, like I'm queer, like it feels right. I don't know. So yes, queer is good.
Yes, I love that. Okay, queer is good. We love that. Okay, so obviously, first of all, we should just say season 41, gayest season ever. We got you out now. We got Erica out. I mean, we already had me, Ricard, and Jeannie. Like, it's a gay ass cast.
It's a
you know?
gay ass cast, and that's why it was so good. And if you
And
don't agree it was good, you should go back and watch it again.
that is right. That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Okay, so let's like do it all. What is this journey of like getting yourself to the word queer or being able to like identify that way in your head to yourself out loud? Like, what are the steps in that path?
Oh man, it's been quite the journey. So Evvie, you know all of this stuff, but I'll share it with the audience. I came out back in like 2021. And when I came out to my immediate family, all of my immediate family, and then a few close friends, and then later that year I came out to you
Yeah.
at one of our watch parties. And the struggle there was that, like, since I never made a public statement, there's spaces that I occupied that I wasn't out in. And so sometimes I had to like make the decision to like, do I want to, correct somebody when they very innocently assume my sexuality, or do I just want to let it fly? Like, people just didn't know, right? And so this is an opportunity to be on here, is a really cool opportunity to be able to say to the world, like, hey, I'm queer. But in terms of the journey, it's been a long one. It was a 25-year journey. Like I said, I came out in 2021. And so my journey pre coming out has been longer than my journey post. But how far back do we want to go? Do we want to?
Yeah, let's
We can
fucking
go.
go
We can take
back.
it all the way back because
Let's
I'm
take it all the way
excited.
back.
Okay, I'm excited. Okay, so I feel like my earliest human memory was actually when I was like 4 or 5 years old. Not obviously I lived life before that, but like this was the memory that I can recall. And it was like 2000, like 1999, 2000, and there was like a legend by the name of Britney Spears, and she had this song
Yes.
called "Hit Me Baby One More Time," and I love this song down. Like I had like a whole like dance to it, like I had a 1-2 step, and I was just like being free, being a kid, and I was very quickly reminded in that
Uh,
moment that like little boys don't do this, whether it's listen to Britney Spears or whether it's dance. Like it was very quickly evident that like there's going to be rules to this life,
uh,
and those rules might not feel natural for you, but like you're going to have to either get in line or like be ostracized, right?
uh,
And so that was like the first moment where I felt like, okay, I might be a little different. Obviously there's no sexuality undertone to that, but it was just like I think I might be different. So and you can interject at any time because you know I'm
yeah,
very long-winded. I'm
no,
just,
this
I'm
is
just gonna
great.
keep
This is
talking.
great. I
Guys.
just want to say that the image of little boy Deshawn dancing to Hit Me Baby makes me so happy. I love that for you so much.
Yes.
And I'm so sorry that you got that message so early. There's a sense of like in their minds, they think they're like quote unquote like looking out for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna be, that's not how to move through the world. Like let me teach you that's how to be more successful in the world. Even not
Yeah.
even realizing how much harm potentially doing, from all sides, and kids repeating messages that they've heard. It's just
Yeah.
we got to change it at all the levels. You know what I mean?
Yes. This is
Yeah.
this is very, very true. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah,
So
so like that
little
was
boy
like one of the
Brittany.
yeah.
Sorry.
So I was totally in the Britney. Who wasn't back in the day? That was one of like the first earliest like human memories I have. And then as I was like going through school, like elementary school, middle school, all that stuff. Again, no like idea about sexuality at all. I'm such a young boy, but like I did notice that I like to hang out with girls a lot more, and that was one of the things that like I kind of like I noticed because it's like whether it was like talking to guys or hanging out with them, like the conversations that they would have would just make me so like uncomfortable. Like I just didn't care. Like they wanted to talk about girls or sports, and I did play football when I was growing up, so I kind of had like I guess a pass into the boys club or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
like watching sports, I didn't do. Didn't care to like be a fanatic of sports, and I didn't obviously like look at girls the same way that they did. And so I used to like hang out with girls a lot. We would kiki all that stuff, like have a good time. It was good. It was easy. And so I noticed that that was a thing for me. And then the whole idea of being like perceived as somebody who even had a sexuality didn't come into like 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened when I was like being bullied by, I don't like the term bullied because you can't really bully me, but I mean, I was in 8th grade and there were guys who would say like, oh, he's gay. And during this time, this is like 07, 08, where, being gay was like a pass for people to treat you as kind of like subhuman. Like
Yep.
they didn't have to respect you if they felt that way about you, especially in the city where I grew up. And so that was the first time where I got like an inkling that people are perceiving me as something that I haven't even really had a chance to figure out myself yet, right? And
Yeah.
don't
And
blame them.
when they were saying that kind of stuff, were you like, oh fuck, that's true? Or like were you just like, fuck these guys? Like what was kind of if you can remember?
It was the latter. It was like, fuck these guys, because it's like, bro, there was no like basis for this conversation at all. I hadn't kissed a guy, I hadn't held hands with a guy. I really hadn't had crushes on anybody. I was just operating as a kid. Like I was just literally just being a kid. And so it was like, fuck these guys, because I also knew what it meant that they were trying to do. And so that was tough. But when I look back in retrospect, like obviously they were also 12, 13 years old. So like, who can blame them? Who I can potentially blame a little bit is, and this is the craziest thing, Evvie. Tell me if this is wild, but like I had a lot of close friends who were girls, and I knew their parents. Yeah. And their parents used to talk about me and say, "Oh, that kid's gay, or he's gonna be gay."
Damn, dude.
That's wild to me, because like they were full grown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just like society is changing, but not fast enough. And like it's just so fucked. Like what are adults doing messaging that to their kids? And even if they're like not even meaning anything bad by it, which they probably are if they're gossiping about it, but like you just don't need to like put that on children, like especially like 8th grade. Like you can think back and be like, oh, that's a preteen or whatever. It's like that's a child. Like go look at an 8th grader. Like that is a little kid, you know. And like no one should have that put on them. And like everyone should get to figure that shit out. And also you can like Britney and talk to girls and not be gay. Like let people figure their own shit out. Like it's,
yes. I cannot agree more. Like it was just irritating. And then it's like, well, y'all can see something in me that I can't even I haven't gotten there yet. So it's just like give kids a time, give them their time to like figure it out. But that was a lot. And then, you know, as I was moving through high school, I tried to like date around and date girls and stuff. And I tried to keep it you know, I wouldn't say a facade, because I really didn't know at this point. I still wasn't sure about this part of myself, but like I was just trying to be normal, quote unquote normal. But then by the time I got to college, it was like, okay, like I think there's something here that I probably need to figure out a little bit. Like I probably need to see about it. But I had a choice at 17 to either like go into college and like figure it out, or I could either just follow the status quo. And I chose the latter, unfortunately, and that just prolonged my journey, you know. And it happens to the best of us.
It happens to so many of us. Like it's like no shame or anything. Like it's your whole life. Like you just told us, your whole life, you've been told being gay is bad. It's something to be made fun of. It's something parents are going to talk about. It's something you're going to get bullied about. Like it's so normal to be like, well, if I could be quote unquote normal, I should try that. Right. I mean, I know that was the case for me. Like it happened in all these, like, for me, I didn't even have it like so conscious. It was like these micro flashes where I'd be like, oh no, I think I might think that girl is hot. No, you don't. Being gay is hard. Okay, just be straight. Like, in like 1 second. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't even told you that's what was happening, but that's what was happening. And so like,
that's so true.
You know, you're here now. You know, so
that's right. But no, I like the way that you explain that, because it's like a hodgepodge of emotions. Like you don't, especially when you're not like, when you haven't sold yourself on it, you're trying to figure it out, and like you feel so many different things at once. You're like, was that relationship with that girl real? Was that illegitimate? And so all the things. And so when I got to college, I chose the latter path, obviously, of trying to date girls, and I met another girl who I dated like long term. But it really sucked, because like at that point, I was figuring out that I was probably what I now know as queer, and I was still dealing with this person. And so there was a part of me that was like not showing up for this person in a healthy way, obviously. And I could recognize that as it was happening. And so once that relationship kind of ended or fizzled, I pretty much made a promise to myself that like I'm not gonna date anybody else until I'm able to figure this out, because like I don't want to hurt somebody because I don't have my own shit together. You know, so I stopped dating at that point. And college was just a weird time, like between like 18 to 25 when I came out. Like I lived like this duality of a life, Evvie, where it was like, so I'm obviously a doctor now. I'm a medical doctor.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Congratulations. Right? That's like so fresh, right? We're talking like a month.
Very fresh, yeah, and I
Yes.
actually start like next month. But I bring that up to say like where I come from, both culturally and like the city, like it's a big deal to be a doctor. And so the duality of my life during these years was like on the one hand, I would like walk outside and I'm the guy that everybody's looking at as like having all his like stuff together. He's successful, he has it all figured out. He has to be happy, right? Like he's
Mm,
somebody who you can look to kind of like, model after. And then whenever I would come home and be alone by myself, there were all of these thoughts of anxiety and depression, and just like shame about this part of myself that I hadn't quite figured out yet. And obviously there was like substance use and trying to, use that to like, you know, to kind of like help with the feelings that I was feeling, which it didn't help at all, by the way. But I mean, during
yeah.
the time, I thought it was a quick fix. And so there was this extreme duality. Like on the one hand, people saw me as this guy who was successful, but in my heart, I felt like just anguish, like almost every single day. And you're kind of having to like you figure that out. You know what I'm saying? Like, who am
Yeah.
I? Who actually am I? And so that was my life
Oof.
for a lot of different years. I don't know if like have you experienced something similar to that? I don't know.
Dude,
Like,
that sounds hard as hell. Like, I just want to say that's yeah,
yeah.
dude. I mean, I really feel like for me, I literally didn't even like it wasn't even so conscious. You know what I mean? It's like I was rather than being like knowing I was hiding a piece of myself, I kind of like was hiding it so deep even from myself that
Oh
like in
wow.
some way it like made it quote unquote easier. Like I didn't have quite like the level that you're describing of like the like intense depression and things like that. But like
Yeah.
but then also when I did finally like literally let myself realize it, I was like had a freak out of like what does it say about me that like I didn't even know this in myself, even though it's so obvious. And I when I started to tell people, similar to your like Brittany and being friends with the girls, people were like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you look at the flannels and the like, and like
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I was always playing with the boys and like I love trucks and all this like stereotypical shit that like I literally it was honestly like a whole different type of shame of like, what does it say about me that like I'm a kind of person that like wouldn't even think the thought to myself? You know what I mean? Like
Oh
I've been
wow.
such a
Yeah.
prisoner in my own brain almost.
Yeah.
But like
Interesting.
it really makes so much sense, especially like when you are so successful in one regard and like you have people looking up to you in that way, that it would be even harder to like want to reveal a piece of yourself that might change that image, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think that was
Yeah.
like the thing that when I started to like be like, okay, this is for real. I need to tell people about it. The thing that was really just so scary was how are they going to look at me?
Hmm.
What are they going to think?
Hmm.
And that stuff like perception by others and society is like so scary and real and like
Yeah.
defines a lot of things and like yeah, it just makes a lot of sense, dude. And I'm also just I love you and I'm sorry that you went
I
through
love you
that.
back.
I'm like
No, I love you back, dude. No, it's
seriously.
fine. It's fine. It's really fine when I'm at the space that I'm at now because
Yeah.
it's like you get like it wasn't for nothing. Like
Yeah.
I'm so glad that there's like that I saw value in myself, and I hope anybody who's listening like knows like even if you're going through it and you're like not out or you don't even know like which direction you're going, like there's value in you as an individual regardless of how things turn out. So no,
100%.
I appreciate your perspective on things too, because like it also shows like how vastly different journeys towards coming out can be. Like
For
so
sure. For
yeah.
sure. And like, yeah, to people listening, like it's like cliche, but it just is true. Like it gets better. It just does. Like,
Yes.
wherever
Yes.
it just will. Like
Yes.
you'll find
Yes.
peace within yourself. You'll find the people that are your people. You'll find the spaces where it's okay to talk about like even if you're never like all the way out, like it will get better from the low point. Like it
Yeah.
just will.
Yeah. That's so
Yeah.
true. Even like
Yeah.
thinking about when you first invited me on this podcast, which was I think it was 2022 when you
Yeah,
first
like
started.
I think that yeah, the first season of this. Yeah, so 2022.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like I wasn't ready yet. Like I just wasn't there. There's stuff I had to figure out, like with my spirituality and all of the things. And so like from then to now here I am, and I'm excited to have these conversations, and I'm like
Yes.
stoked to be here. So that can even be an example of like you're not going to be in that place that feels troubling forever. So your words
Yes.
are so true for sure.
Yes, yes, and that's the whole thing, like, we started this with, like, queerness and like fuck the box and everything. And it's just like nothing is static. Like everything
Yes.
changes. Like time continues, you know, like,
Yeah.
and even your identity changes, you know, like for me, I've had, you know, I was, you know, 24 and I was like, phew, I finally got all that sexuality stuff figured out. And then it's like, bam, gender, like what's going on with that? You know, it's just like, you don't know like what's going to happen. And just like, I think the biggest gift we can give ourselves is just like allow ourselves to be on the journey, right?
Yeah,
Like let
sure.
yourself mull through that shit, even if it's painful, even if it's hard, you know?
Yeah.
No.
That's so true. I
Yeah.
couldn't. You're so wise. Evvie. This is why we're so cool.
Yeah, you know, this is
This is
like
why we're so cool.
real talk. Like obviously not like exactly like this, but we had deep talks on the island. Like, you know what I mean? This is the kind of stuff like if only we had 90 minutes, you know?
Yeah. If only.
But like for real, like it is so true that you just sit around and talk about shit on Survivor.
Yeah.
That's like a huge part of the time.
No,
You know?
that's so true. I was thinking about like I was trying to like in my mind think about how my experience related to Survivor, and I'm sure we'll get there at some point. But
Yeah.
it definitely did. Like being not out on the island definitely had an impact. But
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, so okay.
We got to get to there, but we got to make our way. But
Yeah,
yes.
we're almost there. I promise
Yeah.
we're almost there. So
take your time, dude. This is
okay.
fantastic. Yeah.
Okay. So what was I saying?
Okay, we're at the stage of you really struggling with it in college. I think maybe college beginning med school, I think we're at, or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Like exactly then. And yeah, so I remember there were COVID.
Yep.
We're in 2020 at this point, and we've gone through I've gone through the casting process for Survivor. Obviously, I didn't tell them I'm queer because I'm not out yet and stuff. I haven't gotten there. But during COVID, I feel like people who like struggle with any level of anything, like if you had any quote unquote demon that you had to like figure out during COVID, it either like got really bad, it got worse, and you had an opportunity to bury it more and use more vices to like, you know, stifle yourself in that process of figuring it out, or you had the opportunity to like address it. And I addressed it, but not because I'm like some guy who, you know, is just the noble man and decided to do it. I did it because like I spent a considerable amount of time at home with my family, and I didn't like to be inebriated in front of my family. I didn't have my vices there, so I had no choice but to like look myself in the mirror and like figure it out. There was so much downtime. Obviously, I was still in school, but like we weren't going to class in person, no labs, no like workshops. So like so much more time was just dedicated to like me figuring myself out. And while I was there, my brother was also living with my parents at the time, and he was my age now. He was 28 in 2020, and he was going through like this really intense, like intensely cool, like spiritual, like growth period. And my brother's always been like super opinionated, but like at this stage, I started to really like perceive him as one, an older brother, because I always felt like we are all like on the same playing field. But two, one, an older brother, and two, like someone whose opinions like could actually help drive my life forward in a positive way. Like his concepts and the way that he thought about life, and especially like God, because we always had God in our life and stuff. Like those conversations really helped spring me forward. And through those conversations, I figured out like my biggest fear in life would be like if I were to die, because we're all gonna die, right? But if I were to die soon, and like the only thing that people can talk about is like the things that I did, like, oh, he went to medical school, oh, he was a doctor. That was what my entire identity was at that point. And nobody could ever speak to how it made them feel, or like my authentic self, or like, you know, what it was like to be around me genuinely. Like if people don't actually know me while I'm here and my essence, then like what was it all for? So it became like an extreme fear of mine to like die and only have accomplishments to talk about during this time. Yeah.
That makes oh my God. It's like beautiful seems like the wrong word to say because you're saying it as your fear, but it is like a beautiful revelation of like, you don't want to be defined by just the resume, you know, as amazing and impressive and hard it was to achieve. Like, hell yeah, you have such a beautiful soul and like so much to offer that's not that. I love that.
Thank you, Evvie. Thank you.
I mean, just so everyone knows, like this is gonna be a love fest. I fucking love Deshawn. So that's just...
honestly, and this is how it is when we actually always see each other in person. Like we just be loving each other down. Like it's great.
We spend half the time just being like, "I love you. You're the best."
Yes, I love it.
You shouldn't have voted for me so many times.
We said what? Say again?
You shouldn't have voted for me so many times. Whatever.
I really should have. My bad.
No. Back at it was a dual. Two-pronged frenemy, you know.
It really was. That's so funny. But no, I
Okay,
think
so you
okay,
had
so
this realization.
I had this yeah, I had this revelation, and I'm like, okay, I need to like figure out how I can be more authentic in life. And so another thing, sorry if I'm being long-winded, literally you can just stop me
You're
and
perfect. This
okay,
is
okay,
great. This is
okay.
perfect.
But I'm thinking about this moment because it's related to Survivor too, and I think it'd be a cool story to share. I remember I was watching with the same brother. I was watching Survivor Kagiyan because I knew I was going to be going on Survivor. I was trying to get my family into it, and we were watching Bryce Isaiah, who's the king of kings of all Survivor of the Survivor world,
The
especially like
number
as a
one
queer black
zaddy,
man.
the
Yes,
king.
number one
Yes.
Zaddy. That's my guy. I actually finally met him. Like got to spend some time, real time with him recently because I moved to
Well, now
Philly.
you live in Philly. You
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
can
yeah,
hang. Oh,
yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love
so we're
that.
friends. Like, well, I'm gonna try to make him my friend too. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so we're watching Kaguya. Obviously, Bryce was on with the tribe he was on. He didn't get like a ton of airtime into that boot episode when he was at the tribal council, and it was like his stage. Like you could see all of his beautiful colors like shining at his boot tribal council. And I can remember my brother saying, like, dang, I wish we saw more of that Bryce when we were watching
Mm,
the show. And obviously, not to, he didn't mean it in a way like he was different on the island versus tribal, but we just didn't get to see a lot of Bryce until that moment. And so that was a moment, and I know Ricard shared a similar story about Richard Hatch, but that was the moment where I looked at my family and I was like, dang, like they could root for me if I were like that. And obviously, Bryce and I are different in terms of personality, but like he's gay, obviously, I'm queer.
yeah.
And it was just a moment where it was like, dang, like I know my family's not ignorant or anything, but it's just like I'm the only queer person in my family. I never knew if they would like accept it or like how it would be. But when he said that, it was just like, dang, like he could root for somebody like me. Ultimately, he's rooting for
Yeah.
Bryce, so he can root for somebody like the authentic
Yeah.
version of me. So that helped me also in my journey. So I'm really giving my brother a lot of credit, but it really was important that year that I spent there with him. It
Hell
really helped
yeah.
grow me for sure.
Hell yeah. And just to plug that if people want to hear more about the first ever episode of this podcast is with Bryce. And we talk a lot about like the fact, especially that he's shown so little, despite being like one of the most personable people on planet Earth. You know,
Yes,
so
like the
yes.
best personality ever. So
Yes.
it's so strange,
But I love that so
different
much.
time in Survivor editing. I guess. So,
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But it is so true. I mean, and like yeah, it's one thing to know like, oh, my family loves me. I think they'll love me no matter what. But then to really like see a version of yourself or like something you can relate to on TV and have your family like
Yeah.
that, like it makes so much sense. And like I know that's the kind of messages I get from people of like I get messages from people of like, I'm still in the closet, but I was like with my family watching the episode and like they were like you and that made me feel,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's just like
Yes.
that's so freaking cool. And like I'm so excited that now people are going to know the true you and they're going to go back and they're going to watch season 41. They're going to realize it's actually one of the best seasons in the new era. And
Damn, come on.
that look how cool Deshawn is and look at all these amazing personality traits he has and athletic
my
ability and
gosh.
everything he's got. And he's fucking queer and he's a doctor and we love
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yes. I love you so much.
I love
you down, Evvie. Oh my gosh. Stop. But no, I shared that story with Bryce before, and that was really cool to be able to like have that full circle moment with
I'm
him.
sure that meant a lot to him.
Yeah. I think it was a good moment for both of us. But anyways, okay, so I'm gonna come out. We're coming out right now.
Yep.
I'm coming out of the closet right this
Yeah.
So after this whole experience, I come out. And I came out actually. You know this. I came out like maybe like 5 or 6 weeks before we went out to actually film Survivor.
Right.
And I remember when I came out. Like I said, I came out to family, some close friends, and then I came out to Jesse Tannenbaum, who's our casting director at the time. Like all within the span of like 3 hours. Like it was like I'm telling everybody right now.
Dude, and you're like about to go do Survivor in the
Yeah.
pandemic, which is insane on its own.
Yes. So I don't know if that was a great choice, but it just felt right in the moment. Like literally, because my journey, I have a journey with God too. Like I spent a lot of time trying to reconcile it, and I remember the day I came out, I was like on my bathroom floor like crying, and it sounds really dramatic. I was listening to like praise and worship music, and I just woke up that morning feeling like this is the day where like I think I feel safe enough to come out. And I remember praying to God and asking Him like, is it okay? Like, should I do it? And I just kept hearing the words like go fly, like in repeat for like 2 hours, and it's just like okay. It's okay. So I came out to them.
Wow.
Yeah. It was quite the experience. I cried to every person I came out to. My friends, my family. I'm sure they were looking at me like, dude, relax. Like it's fine. Like you're gonna be okay.
Huge moment. It's a huge moment. And you've been struggling with it for so long already at this point. And like, damn. That was
Yeah,
a
no,
big
that's
3 hours.
yes, it really it felt like a lifetime. Like, wait, I'm curious. When you came out, was it like an
Yeah.
emotional thing for you, or was it like kind
Well,
of like,
for me, okay, so like for me, like okay, basically like the shortest version of the story is in my head it's like magic. Like I have no idea how it happened. I like kissed this girl who also had never kissed a girl, but we were both just like vibing and at this party and I was like, "Oh my god, am I doing something weird? Like I don't know what's happening." But like we kissed and it was just like light bulbs, music going off in my head and my heart and I was just like, "Holy shit."
yes,
Nothing has ever been as good as this. This is the best time of my life. I also don't think I'll ever be able to figure out how to do this again. So like this will just be the best time of my life forever. And like
yeah,
I'll just go back to dating men because like I don't even know how this one happened. But like
yeah,
we'll just like so like and like so it was kind of like in a sense like because it started like that, I had
mhm,
already gotten to like experience such intense like joy was like the first thing of like, holy shit, that's so fun. That's so cool. That's so exciting.
yeah,
And then it wasn't until like later when I was really like, okay, I'm like doing this. I'm like trying to like date ultimately my first girlfriend. And then I was like,
yeah.
that was the part where I like, so after I kissed this first person, then I like was like texting my closest friends who I like thought would be into it. And we were like, so this is crazy and random, but like, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was kind of like owning it in that fun way. But then for me, the real big scary was like telling my parents,
Yeah, and
you
like
know,
with that, was it
it,
emotional for you too, or no?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was, like,
Yeah,
shaking in the car on the way there, like,
yeah,
really also just because like, I never talked to my parents about sex or
yeah,
sexuality or, like, anything, like, in that type of vulnerability thing, so, like, I didn't even
yeah,
have, like, a framework to say it to them, you know what I
for
mean? And,
sure.
like, it was basically so, yeah, it was like, you know, I really I feel like I walked in the door and I was just like, "I have to tell you something. I'm dating a woman." Like, it was just like I couldn't, like, be normal, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
you just have to, like I got up the courage and, like, this was my time,
yeah,
And, it was they handled it pretty well as, like, parents go, like, but I like, the first thing my dad said to me was like, it's gonna make your life harder. I just wanna make sure you know that, and, like, he's great now, like, so supportive. He actually I told him about the fundraiser we're doing for Point of Pride, and he just, like, went and donated, like,
come
he's
on, pops.
fantastic,
Okay.
exactly, yeah. But, again, once again, it gets better. Like,
Yeah,
everybody has to, like,
yeah,
learn stuff. Something that Grace, that one of the other co-hosts of this podcast always says is, like, when you come out to someone, you've been thinking about it for, 25 years. They
mhm,
are just receiving that information for the
mhm,
first time. And like, I'm
yeah,
guessing pretty intense for everyone that you're
yeah,
like, I'm gay. I'm going on Survivor in 2 seconds.
yeah.
Here's the info. Bye.
Goodbye.
Like, yeah.
Right. Exactly. No, that's so true. Like
Yeah.
everyone has a process. Like it is your process. It's your emotions about the situation is most important. But like everybody around you has a process, and so
Right.
yeah, I experienced something similar actually. Like after I came out, the day felt really liberating. Like it felt
Hmm.
amazing. Then I went to sleep, woke up the next day, and I thought everything was gonna be good. And it was not. And it's not that it wasn't like good. It's just that there is a process that everyone has to go through. And so there was a process and something that my family had to consider, and like they know you as a certain way, and then they now have this new piece of information, and they have questions, and as they should, as people who love you, and there's a procession for me as well. Like back then I thought I was just ready to go, like just throw me on the grill, I'm already warmed up, like I'm ready to go. But that's not true. Like there are also more questions that I have for God in terms of like the struggle and the shame and the depression that I had, and like what was it all for. So I also have my own procession, and so all of the things made it so like before I went on to Survivor, I pretty much like I decided like I wasn't going to talk about it on the show. And that is it's a regret of mine, because it definitely informed the way that I played the game, unfortunately, in a negative way. And it had influence while I was out there. But like yeah, it was that process that you speak about, where it was like I didn't want to at the time. This is what my 25-year-old mind was saying. I didn't want to complicate this already very complicated
Yeah.
situation by bringing it on TV. So
Yeah.
I didn't talk about it, and I lost the game because now just like I didn't talk about it, but it definitely would have helped to be authentic out there.
I mean, like literally, like I feel like this was not shown enough on the show. Like Deshawn could have won Survivor 41. Like that definitely was an
Say
outcome.
it again. I don't think they heard you.
Yeah, Deshawn could have won season 41. I mean, it's so true. You were like a dominant player in the game. You made choices. Some of them good, some of them bad, but making lots of choices, like probably more than I think anyone in the final three. You know what I mean? And I think we talked about this at Final Tribal. It was like Deshawn was doing everything. And then like, whereas like Erica was more like the things she was doing, especially in the post-merge, they were all probably good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were all
Deshawn
good.
was doing a lot more, like a lot more the whole time. You know, so anyway, there's definitely a world where Deshawn wins Survivor 41. That's for sure an outcome. And okay, we're here. We're in the you playing the game. And I would really love to hear more of just like, okay, wow, this is like honestly, wow. I knew this story, but like hearing it like laid out like this, like, wow. So like you're holding like both this huge self-discovery, this huge like release that you know, have come out to these people in your life. Mm-hmm. You're holding that you also just like fundamentally changed your like relationship in your family. Like you just like told them this thing about you like that's happening. Yeah. And now you enter like 2 weeks of quarantine in Fiji and like a week or more of silent pregame and then boom, boom, boom island. And then like about to be perceived by millions of people. Like, what did that feel like to you? What did that feel like in terms, I want to hear more about the gameplay element. Like, all that.
For sure. I think you were one of the first people I saw. So okay, we quarantined in LA, right? And then we went to the airport.
Well, I even saw you. You were one of the people. We were both at the Starbucks in the LA. Remember there was like a Starbucks in the LA hotel? And I feel like I was like, and I remember I saw you, we all like have our masks on, everything's like deep COVID. And I'm like, I bet that guy's on Survivor too. Like I bet okay. So yes, you were also one of the first people that I was like, that's
Yeah. And then when I saw you in the line when we were like getting the passport stuff together, like I looked at you and I'm just like, dang, like they look really, really freaking cool. I don't even know if I had seen the Yay tattoo, but you just look really cool. And then I looked around the cast and everybody looks so authentic. And I realized in my mind, like there's this piece of me, obviously, that I'm not going to be bringing on the show. And so I was thinking about it for a long time when we were in quarantine, and that's where the birth of Devious D-Rad came, because pretty much I was thinking in my head, wow, all of these people on the cast are coming out, they're giving their authentic self, like they're not really holding anything back, and I'm somebody who's coming out giving half of myself because I'm not ready to talk about it. So in my mind, I thought like the only way for me to like give producers like what they kind of probably were expecting was for me to like step up and, as you said, just do a lot of shit. Like even if it's not the best shit, just do a lot of shit and be devious and be cutthroat. Maybe play the game like I wouldn't have organically played it myself, but I needed to give them something to fill that void that I wasn't giving them. So that was something when I saw you guys, especially like when I saw you, because I'm like, I know they are just like, they're fire. They're gonna just give all of themselves. And so what were you gonna say?
And like, oh no, I was just like, yeah, it makes me feel so sad that you were holding that, like you wouldn't have been enough otherwise, you know? Because like even like without knowing that, like you have such an amazing personality and so much to offer, and like definitely didn't need to. I mean, I know you're worked through a lot of this stuff now, but just like even without that one piece, like you're a fucking awesome person, and like I just feel sad for the version of you that felt that pressure, you know. Evvie, and I also want to say a real big moment for me. So, you know, I think a classic, I feel like a theme in your story is like, you never know what someone's going through, right? Like people are looking at you like that guy's got it all figured out. And meanwhile, inside you've got a lot of other stuff going on, you know? And for me, I had been, you know, out for a couple of years. I was definitely like, I am going on Survivor to be queer and like show that, like, that's what I'm doing here. And I was also quite nervous. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know these people. Like, I hope it's going to be okay. I saw Jeannie and I'm like, okay, there's something, you know, like we're not alone here, you know, but like, you really don't know. And I feel like it first came to pass on the day where we went to go take the photos. And it was like a couple people would get dressed in their like their clothes at a time and then go take the pictures. And I think it was like you and me and Liana were like one group to get changed. And I come out and I'm wearing actually this very shirt and my tie. Yeah. And I was like kind of nervous. I was like, okay, this is a big, like, if people didn't know what was going on, like I'm coming out in a tie, you know? And you looked at me and just gave me like a giant smile and a thumbs up. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, it's gonna be okay.
I remember this. You just unlocked a memory. That warms my heart, bro.
Yeah. And it was a huge moment for me of like, this is cool. These people are cool. Like, I like that guy. I should probably tell him all my secrets the first time I get to talk to him. You know?
Stop.
But like for real, like I really think like, you know, like we had like these pregame vibes where I was just like, this guy sees me and I like that, you know?
No, so true. I definitely saw you and I was definitely inspired, like through and through. Like could not say that for sure. Like
hell yeah, man.
Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, so you're in the pregame. You've invented devious D-Rad. And then
I'm ready to go and then I'm ready to play. I think so I can like expedite a little bit because I know I'm talking a lot. From a macro level, I think like Survivor is like when I went into it, I knew that the social game was important, obviously, but I always thought the social game was important, like as a means to an end. Like I don't have trouble making friends at this point, mostly on a very superficial level, obviously. But I thought like the importance of the social game was to just get me further. And then hopefully when I got at the end, since I made all these superficial friends, they'll vote for me. Obviously, that's not the way to go. We see like with Kenzie recently or like with Jam Jam, with Marianne, all of these players who like wear themselves on themselves and they allow the other players in the game to really understand who they are. Like that's so like that human element of Survivor like is so important, even beyond like the superficial social bonds that you create. And so yeah, that was super important. On my tribe specifically, on Lufu, we never lost. So we spent so much of our time just talking about like our personal lives, right? And obviously as Devious D-Rad, I was trying to fill the time with strategy, but there's not a whole lot you can do. And so I'm on a tribe with like Danny, who's married to his lovely wife Kiki, love them both down, and their beautiful daughter Zoe, and then Heather, who's married to Jay, and she has her beautiful daughters, and then Nasir, who's married to Diana, and then and Sydney was in a relationship too. So there was a lot of relationship talk during this downtime. And obviously when you're getting to know somebody, like they talk about who they love. Like even like everybody on the island wanted to talk about the things that they loved. And so there was a lot of talk about family and relationship. And every time it would come to me, they would ask like, hey, how about you? And I obviously, what can I say? So my response was always, oh, you know, I'm dating school, medical school is so hard and blase squaze, which is not like it's hard.
Med school. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, but it's not that hard, buddy. Like you're hiding something. Like, clearly. But so that was my response, and like it was just like little nuances like that made it like tough to connect on a deeper level, like in the ways that I talk about with like Kenzie or Jam Jam or Marianne, because it's like they're looking to me, and there's a part of me that I just can't give them pretty much in these social bonds. And it kind of sucks too, because a lot of them, I came out to you, and there's maybe some other people in the cast, but a lot of them maybe will find out that I'm queer listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
And like somebody like Danny, for example, who I'm so glad I met that man. Like he saw me at my lowest. We had a lot of arguments that they didn't show on camera, but he never like abandoned me. He always wrote for me. And this is a part of me that he never got to know. And so it's like, that's a clear example of like, dang, I just wish the relationships that I made there that were maybe a little bit more superficial. There's some of them I just wish they were a bit deeper, and I wish I had the courage to build a strong foundation based off of like who I was, because Danny gave me who he was like thoroughly. So
you know what, but it's so not too late. You know what I mean? Like life is long. You and Danny, there's phones, there's computers. Like I know that connection is like so deep, you know? And I like, so he doesn't know yet. He's going to find out on this.
He's gonna find out on this. I mean, hey,
well, Danny, if you're listening, give Deshawn a call. Let's make this happen. I mean, and I'll say the first Pride when we were home after between airing and filming, Danny and Kiki sent me and Ricard, I don't know if they also sent Jeannie, Pride Month Oreos package.
I remember that.
It was just like so cute and sweet and like silly, and I'm just like, allies, let's go. You know,
I remember
and, like,
you posted that.
And
I
know.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go.
No, I was gonna say I think like well, I won't even speak on that. But like, obviously, he's cool about it. Like everybody's cool
Yeah.
about it. It's just a thing in your own head. It's just
Totally.
like,
And
yeah.
it's like, I think it's like, this is so exciting because it's like now, I mean, I know for our friendship, like when you told me, it like allowed us to like really like reach a way new level of our friendship. And like, I'm
Yeah.
so excited for you to have that with so many more people in your life, you know, like
Yeah,
that's so
seriously.
special. That's so
Yeah.
special.
Yeah, and I feel like once, also on the topic of our friendship, I feel like once I did come out to you, like you helped me in so many ways in terms of like not only like self acceptance, like that was important, but like also like self love and like self like validation and like appreciation for self. Like even like through our conversation, we've had many conversations over the last couple of years, but even like through watching you and like how organic and honest you are about your journey, like it has been like just amazing to have you in my life. But those conversations that were really meaningful to get me here would not have happened if I didn't open up to you about being queer. So you're so
That's
right.
right.
Like I think that this could be the start of meaningful relationships with more people for sure.
Exactly. And also just to say of like the regret of not being out on the show, you know, like, so I have that similarly with my gender where it was like,
Yeah.
honestly, like I really feel like partway through the pre-merge, I'm like doing all these confessionals about the Yasa women versus the men. And it's like the women versus the men, the women versus the men, women versus the men. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm not a woman. Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Like
Like,
one problem.
yeah, there's this one problem with that. And like, you know, watching the show, like it's a lot for me to watch it and just like, obviously everyone's using she, her pronouns to me all the time. I'm
Yeah.
talking about with the women and it's like, no one's doing anything wrong. They're using the pronouns that I told them to use, you know? And it's like part of me, I've done, you know, and I've gotten to like speak about this a lot on this podcast. Part of me is always like, damn, like it sucks that I didn't get to be that representation for other people. It sucks that like I didn't get to be that for myself, you know, watching it back and stuff. And I'm always met with, and I want to pass this along to you, like, this is an authentic journey. Like it's actually real life for so many people that there's a part of your life where you're not out and there's a part of your life where you are out. And like that people realize stuff about themselves later or people feel comfortable sharing stuff about themselves later. And like, that's actually beautiful and special. And like, I think it's going to be really, really meaningful for people who have had the experience of being closeted and then coming out later to like know this piece of you and get to like reflect back on, watch that story and be like, damn, I see a piece of myself in that guy who's, you know, doing everything and like, you know, really like, you know, doing a lot. And like, I just really want to validate you that like, this is all part of the thing. You know what I mean? This is all part of your survivor story. This is all part of your life story. You know what I mean? It doesn't finish just because the taping finished, you know?
Yeah, that's so true. Thank you for saying that. That's something that I can take with me forever. And also to your point, not yet, right?
Yeah.
Evvie's gonna be back, guys, for season 50.
Well,
and they're gonna kill it. So
dude, I mean, that would be special for me. And I have that on my list of questions for you. What would it be like for you if season 50 calls your name and you get to like be this version of you? Like what would that feel like?
it would feel very liberating. Like honestly, even if I went out, I mean, I don't want to go out first, but even if I went out like in pre-merge, like it would be so liberating to just like go out there from every lens, like from the lens of like my interactions with the producers out there who I love so much, but like for them to get to see me authentic, and then for Jeff to get to see me authentic, and then whoever I'm playing with, and then ultimately the audience, like it wouldn't, like I feel like the win would be to be able to go back out there and do what I feel like in my heart I should have done the first time. And so, yeah, I think it would be awesome. I don't know. How do you feel? How would you do things?
Oh my
How would
God.
you
Yeah.
feel about
Hell
that?
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It would be so special. I mean, I would be like not wearing a shirt, you know what I mean? Which is like insane. Like now that I've had my surgery, you know, like it's wild. And like, I honestly, I feel the same way. It's like, please don't let me be the first one out. But even if I did, like, it would be just absolutely sick to be on there. And like, I mean, I really like truly have always felt like your story was not fully told on the show. Like, obviously you're in it a lot, but like, you were a hard person to describe, like, you know, cause you're like, and this is why, and I have to say, like, it's, there's a piece that's selfishly validating for me where I was like, why did I always get tricked by Deshawn? And it's like, because there's two versions of him. There's the one that like, you know, that like we connect so well. And then there's the one that's like making moves. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
You know? That's
like,
so funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah, dude. But like seriously, and like, I don't know. I think that would be absolutely special. And like, I mean, you have it all. The gameplay, the new story. It's like, Jeff, pick up the phone, you know, like let's get
Jeff, are you listening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They bring up a good point, Jeff. I don't know. No. I'm just like, thank you so much. I think the same for you. I think it would be awesome if we were both out there at the same time again. That would be so cool.
That would
But
be so
wishful
oh my
thinking.
God. But
Wishful
yeah.
freaking thinking.
And if anyone on the future cast with us is listening, we're not really this good friends. It's
We're
fine.
not.
We'll betray
No,
each
this is all
other.
a
Don't
front.
even worry about
We're
it.
just
Yeah.
we're really like fighting to get through this interview. Like,
Yeah,
we want it
exactly.
to
We're
be-
just
we
really
want it
good
to
at
be
the
done.
podcast. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. But no, I
Um,
do have something I want to share though too, because this
Please.
was a moment, and then we can be done with Survivor. But this was
No,
in
it's
regards
good.
to a moment that I had where I actually almost came out on the show. This actually may be news to you because I don't think I ever shared this with you, but it was it was in regards to interaction I had with Shan of all people, who was somebody who obviously people think like we just don't get along, like two people just personalities that didn't mesh, and that's true gameplay wise, but we had a lot of decent like human moments, and this was one of them. So Shan and Danny used to always go to the beach and like I think do like a Bible study sort of thing without the Bible, and
Yeah.
obviously I was like in my process with God and stuff, and so I remember going out there one day. I finally got to sit in on one, and Shan was saying something along the lines of like I don't remember exactly, but it was pretty much saying like God accepts you, God accepts all, pretty much. And based off of where I was in my process and my relationship with God, like I just started welling up crying because I'm like, I had so many questions still for God. And I wasn't being honest about who I was on the show. So I had to get up really quick, and we're still playing the game. So I didn't want to make it a moment. And so I tried to get up and leave quickly. And she noticed me because she's obviously very perceptive, and she came after me and she gave me a hug, and she said she asked me like what was that about, like what's the emotion you were feeling. And in that moment I really really wanted to have the discussion with her because it was really on my heart, but I couldn't obviously, and I had to make a decision, like do I break everything that I said I was going to do in this moment that feels really real and feels really organic, or do I just say we can talk about it later? And I ended up telling her like, yeah, we can just talk about it after. She gave me a hug and she gave me support in that moment, and we were always supposed to talk about it, and so unfortunately we never got the chance. But Shannon, if you're listening, that's what that moment was about.
Wow.
And so yeah, that was really impactful. And then after the moment I go to confessional and producers are like, what was that about? And of course, I told Jesse that I was queer, but I never went back to tell Jesse that I wasn't going to be talking about my queerness on the show once I decided a couple of days before we flew out. So I'm sure producers were even like, maybe he's ready to talk about it. And again, I just wasn't. And so I think that's why there were a lot of holes in my character story, as you mentioned, because like moments like that like would have really been impactful to see, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't cross the threshold. But it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But that also sounds like really tough. Like, I mean, it's not a joke. Like Survivor strips you down. Like you're starving. You're like Tiff and I used to always laugh, like how much time we spent on our like what outfits are we gonna wear? And then like 12 hours in, we're like half naked, dirty as
Yeah.
fuck. Like
Yeah.
everything you thought you would care about, you can't care about it anymore. Because you're so,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
and honestly, like to be able to be holding such a big emotional thing and a secret and like a big piece of yourself just sounds so hard, like in a game that's
Yeah.
already so hard that you went all the way to the end of. Like that is like a strength, that is like just immense. Like that is hard as hell. And like and also to be holding that like as you're watching the show back and like all this stuff, like that's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm glad you were able to like have a connective moment in some way there. And like it's sad that it like didn't quite get to be there,
Yeah.
but that sounds
Yeah.
beautiful. Like it really does.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it was a very meaningful moment. It's one of the moments on the island that sticks out the most. Like obviously a lot of shit happened, but since that was a very real moment, like it's the real stuff that like penetrates. So I'm sure you can agree to it too. I'm sure you had some very human moments with people. And it's that stuff,
Absolutely.
even if it wasn't shown, that you'll never, ever, ever forget. So Survivor's deeply
Absolutely.
human. It is. Don't just think you're gonna go out there and play people. Like you're gonna get attached to humans and want to reveal yourself to humans and connect with humans because that's what humans do. And so yeah.
Yeah, and the people they cast in Survivor, it's like most people are really, really awesome, and that's how they
Yeah.
ended up on Survivor. And like it is, yeah, it's corny as hell, but it's like it is a cross section of life. You know what I mean?
It
And like even more
is.
so now with like the new era casting and everything, like it's
Yeah.
actually a place where you get to like meet all sorts of people that you wouldn't normally meet, perspectives you wouldn't normally get, and like
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm so glad for you that you're able to have also this like religious moment or spiritual moment out there. And like I don't know if you've mentioned your spiritual journey like a bunch. I don't know if there's any more you want to share about that, of like where you're at now with
Yeah.
it, or what's looking
Yeah.
like.
Thank you for asking, for sure. I think that was the biggest thing is like I'm Christian, obviously, and Christianity has a history of homophobia a little bit, like the people in the religion. And so a lot of the times it was hard for me to reconcile it. The day I came out, I feel like God gave me the push, but there were still questions, like I was saying, about that I had forgotten in terms of like what was it all for? Like what was all the shame, all the nights that I was alone and all the sadness, all that stuff. And so I didn't quite understand that. And that was a part of my my process of after I came out, there were still things I had to figure out. And so since then, I think the number one thing that I'll say, and I'm pretty sure there's people who are listening to your podcast who might be queer or, questioning, and they're also Christian. The biggest thing for me was when I finally like came to God as a human, instead of coming to God as a human who was queer or a human who was gay. I eliminated like the blinder of operating through my quote unquote like sin when I was interacting with God, because before there was no way that I could even cry or pray to God or anything without that coming up. And then when I finally just approached God as a human, I got to receive God's love in my heart. And then I started to educate myself more, and I started to realize that like words that are used to drive homophobia in Christianity, like like a homosexual in the Bible wasn't added to like 1946. And so that's a breadcrumb. If you're listening and you're curious about that, definitely go look that up. I'm not going to get into it too much, but just like in the translations and knowing that the men who translated the Bible were literally people just like you and me, like they're no
Right.
better than us, right? And then knowing the context of when the Bible was written versus what we consider as human sexuality now, all of those things, like it equipped me with educating myself once I went to God as myself. And I feel like God revealed to me that like, no, not only like will I honor who you are, but I'm going to use you exactly as you are. And the purpose of your pain was for you to get to the space where you are now, to show, to be an example to people who might be in a similar situation now, like, you don't have to change. You can be exactly who you are. I'm going to honor that. I'm going to use you. Yeah, I just felt like the purpose of the pain was for me to be able to be somebody who can show that you can have both God's love and still operate in your full authenticity. But that took me going to God just as a human, just as myself, like take the queerness out of it, take the gayness out of it, whatever, and just go to God and see what he says and what he speaks into your heart. And so in regards to the Bible and all of the mistranslations and all of the words added and stuff, like for me, another conclusion I arrived at was like, the Bible for me, as much as it has a lot of great stuff, it can't be the infallible word of God because it's been handled by so many humans and it's been mistranslated so many times. So that infallible word of God that these queer or questioning Christians might be looking for is the word that he speaks like directly into your heart, into your mind when you pray to him or whatever God that you pray to. It's located there, and you get that through meditation, through prayer, through spending time with God. And so I just encourage everybody to not give up on one thing for the other. You can be Christian, you can be any religion that you connect with, and also queer, and you can honor yourself in both ways. And so that was the big thing. And I officially got to the space where I am now, where I feel like I have the best relationship with God, and everything in life is going really, really great. So I encourage people to explore their authenticity in that way and see how your life takes off.
Damn, that's so beautiful, man. I'm so, so, so happy for you to go on that journey. And like what you just shared, like I know for sure that there are people listening to this that needed to hear that, like for sure. And that's beautiful as hell. And like, you talked about, why did I have to go on this journey? And like, you're paying it forward to so many people right now. Like everything you're doing, like I'm just
so much.
Dude, like
So
I've really never heard anyone talk about that like that. And so I'm gonna take that with me. And like, yeah, I haven't had the same struggle with I'm Jewish. I have like, it's like not quite as much. I mean, in some sects of Judaism, it probably is more of a thing, but for me, that wasn't a huge part of the struggle. But it definitely, like in general, the concept of humans wrote down all the words that we're reading. You know what I mean? And so like, so like that concept of like the truth of your religion, your God, whatever it is in you and your heart. And that's where it's going to matter. And that's where it's like coming from. And that's where you feel it. Like that's that divine connection makes so much sense. And like is really beautiful.
That's so real. That is so
Dude.
real. We have to have
Dude.
more talks like this. Evvie.
I
Like,
know, I
this is
know.
so great. Oh
Honestly,
my gosh.
until you said that, I forgot about Shan's the like Bible study hour. Like I went to it one time also, and like it was really beautiful and special. I know Nasir was there too, and you know he's Muslim, and it's special as hell, like as a thing. And you know she's mafia and pastor. You know the pastor was there too.
Yes, of course. That's beautiful. This was such a beautiful conversation, Evvie.
Okay, I have 2 more questions for you.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
Okay, and well, I have 3 because the third will be: is there anything else that you want to share? So
okay.
Number 1.
Enough. No, okay, go ahead.
Number 1. Are the DMs open? Are we single? Are we looking? Are people that for the first time are like, oh shit, Deshawn is on my team? Like, what's going on here?
That's so hilarious. That's so funny. Okay, so you would know of all people, the DMs have been open for so long. You've been like, what the hell is going on? Like, but
I've been like, are you sending messages?
Right.
What are we doing?
Are you trying? Are your DMs like closed permanently? No, but there's been new leads. So I met a person. I moved to Philadelphia recently, and I met a person. It's still obviously very, very new, but this is like the first person I've ever met that it feels like I have a friend and a lover too. Like it's like
that's
all in one.
so sweet.
But yeah, it's really great, but it's still so new. So I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to say too much. I'll just say, out of respect for wherever the situation may go, my DMs are like kind of closed right now. No, they're closed. I'll say they're closed because
they're closed, but it's like he might read them. You know what I mean?
He
Like,
might read them,
don't expect a response. But, dude,
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you, and no matter what happens with this relationship, like getting that feeling, I know is something you have, like, that you've been craving, and like now you know what it feels like, and like I hope this thing's the thing, but if not, it's gonna lead you to the next thing. So that's.
I love that.
I love that.
Fingers crossed. I think you would really like him too. Hopefully, you know, if it works out, you'll meet him one day.
Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, this is actually related to question 2, because question 2 is, what are you doing this Pride Month? And part sub A of that is, are you going to come to New York and hang out with me when I'm in New York for Pride at the end of June? But you can answer the first part first.
Part 2 was, am I going to come hang out with you?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to answer that first.
Okay, good.
Freaking course, I'm going to go.
Yes.
Hopefully, I'm right here. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna come see you. In terms of what I'm going to do for Pride, I don't really know. Like this is a celebration in a way. Like having this conversation.
Yes, definitely.
To be honest, like at my core, like I'm even like queer Pride. I've never been like a parade guy either. So like I don't know if like it's something I want to like do, but I feel like you have to experience it once. So I have some queer friends out here now in Philadelphia, and so I'm probably going to tag along to one of the events at some point this month. But like I'm just naturally like a homebody more so. So like I don't know. Like I gotta figure a creative way to celebrate Pride, and maybe it'll just be like a social media posting, or maybe this can be one. Or when I go and see you, maybe that can be the official celebration. But
Hell yeah, dude. And it's like, that's so right. It's like, you got to go to the parade once, you got to experience that, but it's like, mostly the parade kind of sucks. You know what I mean? Like realistically, like, you know, like, especially these days in so many cities, it's also like the floats are like Citibank and AT&T, you know what I mean? So like,
how did y'all end up here? Like,
exactly. So you'll find, I feel like Philly is a great place for you, and you're going to find the right stuff that feels fun. And
we'll see. Hopefully they had a parade this weekend, and I seen like video footage of it, and it looked a little rough. There was some fighting going on.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if I want any parts of that.
Yeah, right.
We'll see.
Right.
But
my favorite of the New York Pride circuit is which I live in Boston, but I like to go to New York Pride. There's a day where everyone goes to Reese Beach, and it's just like queers at the beach, and it's just chill. And I think you should come to that with me. So
I like that. And I've been getting my body right too, so I can go shirtless.
Deshawn is looking good, people. If you have not seen the post, Deshawn is looking good.
Stop. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I just want to, first of all, like, I'm going to ask you if there's anything else you want to share, but I also just want to start by just saying, like, thank you so much for doing this. Like, it's like you said, like, I ask you every year, and this was the right time, you know, and I just feel like it was so beautiful. And like, this interview, I know, is going to mean a lot to a lot of people, and it means a lot to me. And I'm just like so happy for you, and like really glad we got to do this. And you're just, people did not get to see it. Look how wonderful this human is. You know what I mean? You got glimpses of it on the show, but like you're just a special person, and sharing your story like this is so special. And like,
Thank you so much.
Hell yeah. Thank you for doing
Thank you
this.
so much. And I have to return the hype because, that's just what we do. Thank you so much for like being who you are and offering me like the support, the encouragement, the insight, like everything that you are like has been so impactful for my journey in so many ways. And then just the fact that like you offer great friendship and like we have a great time when we hang out. And people don't know, we went to, what concert did we go to? I went to
Chance the Rapper,
Chance the Rapper concert.
10-year anniversary. That was so fun.
Yeah. So it's just like those moments where it's like I really made a friend, like a genuine friend from this experience. And I couldn't thank you enough. So just thank you. Despite all the shit that we went through on that island, we're still connected. It means a ton. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely, dude. I love you. And is there anything else you want to share with the listeners? We got it. Okay, we got it.
No more. Yep.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Deshawn is the best. Truth bombs coming at you. Wisdom, joy. We've got it all. And thank you all for listening. And pass it back to Matt and Grace.
Peace.
I'm Grace Leeder. I use she, her pronouns. You can follow me on social media at Hi From Grace, and make sure you buy a buff from robhasawebsite.com/pridebuff.
Yes, and I am Matt Scott. I use he, him pronouns. You could follow me on social media at MattScottGW, and you could get a Pride Has Spoken shirt at robhasawebsite.com/store.
And I'm Evvie Jagoda. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on Instagram at Evvie Jag and on Twitter at Evvie Jagoda. And as a reminder, all the proceeds from both the shirt and the buff will go to Point of Pride. Please buy a product today. This was the Pride
has spoken.
It's so bad.
Pride has spoken. We did it.
Bad. We did.
Just because we're recording, can we just do it like one? Just say that last.
Yeah.
Line one more time. I don't know why I'm making us do this.
No, it's good. This was the Pride
has spoken.
Matt, you say it so slow.
wait, one more time.
We're done. This was the Pride
has spoken.
It's my wait, one more. I'm starting too fast. This was
the
Pride has
spoken.
Leave all these in.
Yeah, leave all these.
Leave them all in. Yeah.